Hello IGN, my name is Jose Otero, and I reviewed Smash Brothers for Nintendo 3DS. Why don't we roll the verdict real quick for you? Smash 3DS is impressive, and for the most part, feels right at home on 3DS. The multitude of ways to play and awesome customization gave me many reasons to keep fighting, and I've been at it for more than 45 hours already. It all produces a fun feedback loop of engaging in matches to unlock custom moves and trophies, then jumping into another match to try out the new stuff both online and off. It's a little disappointing that the 4-player antics that are the best part of the console games don't really work on a small screen, but there's still more than enough that does make Smash a great 3DS game. All right, so there we have it, gentlemen, an 8.8 on IGN. So here to talk about it with me, we have Brendan Graber.
I fight for my friends.
Mike Pereira.
I do not fight for my friends.
And Brian Altano.
I fight you all.
So let's start with the general discussion, guys. As a Smash Brothers game for a handheld, let's start there. How does this feel? How's it work? Does it transition right? What do you think?
I didn't think it'd be possible. And I was pleasantly,
Optimism.
Yeah, seriously, like, you know, playing for the 64 through the GameCube and all those eras and into the Wii, I'm like, there is no way you can fit all this into a handheld thing that can take anywhere I want. And the way they kept adding more characters, I'm like, this is getting way too big.
Yeah.
And to be able to see the finished product and choose from this huge roster, be able to play online with anybody across the world, and it loads ping perfectly, you're able to bet and spectate on matches. It's like, there's so many modes, and it all works. And I'm loving it. I think it's a great addition.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, the scale is awesome and impressive. It's something, yeah, like Brendan said, I did not think it would be possible. But at the same time, the 3DS is kind of the biggest problem with it. I feel like the system's gonna burst into flames every time I play the game. Just because, it's so impressive what they've done, but even if you hit the home button when you're playing it, it kind of freezes. And I think if they had a game that kind of scaled more to the system, it might have actually been stronger. That's probably kind of an unpopular.
So you think parity between the two is kind of what is putting this thing, like, they're pushing the 3DS to the limit?
Exactly. Okay. It is almost beyond the limit of the system. But like I said, I love the game. I love the fact that they kind of aim super high. But it does kind of feel a little bit like the system can't handle what they would try to do with it. Okay.
What do you think, Brian?
I kind of agree with both of you. I think they found a great balance in exactly what they were trying to get away with and what they could get away with. And there's very few times I feel like you're actually sort of seeing all the smoke pumping out of the machine in the background. Like, you do kind of get the feeling
Maybe
that...
just mine.
Yeah. Well, one of them definitely is the home button. But the good thing about Smash is that it's made me not want to play anything else on my 3DS. So I don't really go back into the home menu very often. It's just kind of always there. And I really like that I can jump into Smash, and Smash, to me, like, if I want to play Mario Kart, it's like I'm going to do a Grand Prix or a couple races. If I'm going to play Zelda, like, I'm going to go through a dungeon or start a whole new quest. But Smash to me means that I could jump into just the trophy rush mode. And that could be my experience with Smash for the day. And I can put it away, and that's like a bite-sized version. Or I could jump into an online multiplayer match. Or I could just play a quick single-player rounds. Or go into some of the mini games. So I think that whereas on consoles, it always made sense to sit down and kind of play around with every single mode. On 3DS, I'm sort of inspired to pick it up, play one or two modes for a few minutes and put it down. Yeah. And it's whatever I'm kind of in the mood for. So it almost feels like I have like 10 games inside one game in that I can get my quick fix that I want in a handheld game in so many different ways with one software package.
It is very feature rich, right? Yeah. And there is so much you can do. And it's not even from a perspective of just how many things they packed in terms of features, but it's also like the tiniest details, right? Like the line that Pac-Man draws of little pebbles before he like goes after and turns into his like 16-bit or whatever, his basic shape form as he like attacks. Or just the tiny details on the characters themselves, the moves themselves, the items themselves. Could not believe it scales to 3DS size.
Yeah, I was worried that the personality of Smash would not come true, but that's totally not the case. Like, it has all the humor, all the fan service. It's pretty wonderful.
You mentioned some interesting concerns though with like exactly how much they're pushing the system to the limit. Do you feel the controls are also pushing the system to the limit? It seems to be a thing to talk about right now.
It definitely took me a while to get used to it because, well, I played Smash like since the N64. I like totally used to the GameCube controller for Melee and Ball. And so it did take a while for me to get used to the handheld. But I mean, but after you get past that learning curve, I think it works totally fine.
All right. I'm assuming you guys agree there as well, right?
Yeah.
Just the learning curve.
I'm glad that they put that the control set up for you to optimize.
Yeah.
So people didn't like having to tap up the jump. They can turn that off, not have to worry about it. Switch the jump buttons with the attack buttons, switch your L and R buttons. It's a great addition.
Cool, cool. All right, so then let's talk a little bit about just modes and features itself, right? Like, you can't help but notice with Smash how many, like, I think what impressed me most as a reviewer was, man, I could just keep jumping into other modes to play. I can do multi-man Smash. I can do something like classic mode or all-star mode. Let's talk about those. What do you guys think of that?
I definitely think that every mode had its own reward. That there wasn't one place you had to like grind if you want to get custom specials. You can get custom moves and equipment or powers in every mode, whether it's the roulette wheel in Classic or find them in Smash Run or even the Trophy Rush, even the Streets Passing game. You would win rewards for it, like either coins or even like custom moves and stuff. And I think that's great because they don't shoehorn one area where you have to go to play. Every area is viable, whether you're just playing for fun, playing to get more items or unlock more things, or doing the challenges. I think it's
Even
great.
in the middle of a match, they'll drop a custom move. And I remember the other day, we all just ran for it. Who's gonna get it first?
No, it's a good feeling taking stuff away from Brendan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good that they also kind of slightly gear towards who you're playing as in terms of unlocking things. If you're playing as Ganondorf and you want those cool moves, play him in Smash Run, and the most stuff you get will be his custom specials.
Okay, all right. What about you guys? What modes do you find yourself sort of jumping in and out of, or?
Well, so I'm sort of a slave to what that challenge menu tells me to do. Like that thing pops up and it goes beat Classic with every single character, and I go, well, here I go. And then I go, oh crap, there's like 1,000 characters. So I'm going through one by one right now, and I think I have 11 characters left in Classic to beat everything with everyone. And it does get repetitive. But that's my dumb brain being like completionist. You gotta get 100% in this game. You gotta get everything. So I find myself playing that, and I also find myself doing a lot of Trophy Rush stuff. Because to me, like it's sort of understated, but like I don't even want to say this, but I would buy a Nintendo game that was just a collectathon for trophies. Like, you could get rid of all the Smash Brothers stuff. You can get rid of everything else. I make it for me. I don't care. And give me something where I can just unlock trophies that are like little toys, and then I can read about them and learn about them, and then get more and more, and then collect them and trade them and street pass and get more and stuff like that. So yeah, I find myself like it's kind of weird. Like the actual multiplayer Smash stuff is like the least interesting to me. Compared to a lot of the other modes, which is just sort of like unlocking characters, unlocking moves, unlocking trophies, and collecting coins.
Quick shout out, you mentioned reading the trophies. Like the translation on the trophy, like the info is hilarious.
Oh, it's really awesome.
Go and
It's
read
actually
some
really
of those
good.
trophies. They're really funny.
Yeah. No, they're definitely following sort of current things that maybe people have posted on Miiverse, like Metroid's crawling and things like that.
Yeah.
One thing we sort of missed in our first discussion, I want to get in here really quick though, is one of my pieces of criticism was that with 4 players on screen, it is difficult to track. What do you guys think of that? Did that affect you? Did you eventually get over that? Did you not have that problem at all?
I'm actually okay with it. Where it screws me up is when you're in a stage that adds like an arbitrary 5th character, like the Earthbound stage.
Oh, yeah.
Brings in that stupid bird, that big bird. And then there's the Find Me stage where all of a sudden a dragon starts beating you up, or the Tomodachi Life stage where there's a bunch of guys running around in the background. I think that some thought could have been put into some of those stages to maybe pare down some of the background elements a little bit to keep the foreground more prevalent. But I do think that 3 players is kind of the sweet spot for me, from what I've learned. 4 gets a little crazy, and I feel like if 2 people pick the same character in a 4-player mode, even if they're differently colored, like forget about it. It gets too crazy for me.
What about
Yeah,
you, Mike?
4 is way too much for me. I like 2 and 3. If you have items on and the dynamic stages, it's a little bit too crazy. And like, unlike these guys, I basically only do multiplayer matches. I mean, I mess around with some of the other modes, but I love playing with other people. So it's gotten to a point where one guy kind of sits out. It's like, well, you can play too, but we won't be able to see what's going on.
Yeah.
I think I can handle 4 players with certain characters. There are some fighters that the minutia of their attacks are very dependent on what's going on. Like the Duck Hunt like the can that you kick and you hit the target blast.
Yeah.
If you're in a 4-player match, you can't even tell where that can went.
No.
And it can be really good if people like get confused and they get hit by it, but it can be bad for you to go, okay, where is it? Should I press B now or wait? And then like Robin's tomes, if you use them too much, they go away, and you can't see his hand half the time because it's so small. I think on the Wii U, it'd be probably better because you'll be able to see up close and you have that better screen resolution. But with some of these characters, it can be pretty hard. That said, team battles, I can actually tell really easily who's on whose team.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way they went around the outlines and the hues.
It's a good feature.
They work really well.
Excellent. All right. Well, then lastly, what I want to talk to you guys about is Smash Run. So Smash Run is the exclusive Nintendo 3DS mode where you are running around in an arena for 5 minutes. I kind of slammed it for that. I just felt like it's a bit unfocused. It's very close to being good, in my opinion, compared to the other Smash Brothers single-player modes I have played. But it wasn't up to snuff with what I inevitably wanted. I want to know how you guys feel about it. If you disagree, please feel free to disagree. I know Brendan disagrees 100%, so go ahead.
Raising the torch for Smash Run. I'll start off by saying that I do think it's not perfect. It still needs more. That said, I think it's a much higher on my fun scale than you put it on. For the purpose that I like, though, that 5 minutes of running around. I love the attention to detail that arena has with all the different characters. Being able to fight a Dark Knight from Twilight Princess and see him use the same attacks and knock him down till his armor falls off, and it's the same thing where he jumps back, throws the sword at you. I'm like, whoa, I'm back in Twilight Princess for a second. And then like the way the Super Goombas, you can jump on 3 times and just defeat him easily.
And then you look around at the generic area and go, oh no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. No, those are really good.
It took me
points
way too long to
bring
learn that Super Goomba trick, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I
yeah,
the,
probably
the,
not.
the little,
For 3
the little tips and
days.
tricks. But yeah, I do think that it should have had like being able to set how long you're in there,
Yeah.
or at least set the final matches, because I do agree that like the race to the finish thing can be so unbalanced. But that's the only real final challenge that I have problems with.
300% Smash. I had
That's
huge
just
problems.
fun. I don't know. I love 300%
What was I
Smash.
collecting stats for? What was the point of
To
that
go
entire
speed.
I agree with
5
Jose on that one. That makes no sense.
No, just your turn. What do you agree, disagree? Smash Run.
The funny thing is, I actually hated Smash Run first, but then I warmed up to it. It was one of those things on the train. It's perfect for like a little bite-sized kind of thing. But yeah, like I said, like you guys said, there's a lot of changes they could have made to it. It almost feels like they just kind of put the mode in, and then we think about it like beyond a couple, just in terms of being able to change different options.
Like duration, for example, 5
Yeah,
minutes.
I mean,
feels a
because
long
Smash has
time.
always been about options. There's like a crazy amount of ways you could do everything, so it felt kind of restrictive for that franchise.
Got it. Brian, what about you?
So I actually liked Subspace Emissary.
What?
Yeah, a lot of people hated it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a good way to sort of like teach you basics with characters.
This is true.
It was a good sort of history run. It put you up against a bunch of classic enemies and then weird enemies that you'll never see in any other game because they're just like garbage monsters. But it was also a cool way to shoehorn this sort of fake story into Smash Brothers, and I feel like a lot of that got pulled away for Smash Run, and it's sort of a missed opportunity. It feels very unbalanced, very bloated. It's 5 minutes long, which is unnecessary. What I would have done is I would have killed off the final confrontation match thing that you do, which is sort of arbitrarily thrown in there and arbitrarily decided in terms of like what you're actually doing. I would have killed that entirely, and I would have made it sort of the way classic mode is: the more money you chip in, the better the reward is, or possibly the more time you could spend in there.
Yeah.
So if I said, like same with Trophy Rush, right? Where if I spend this much money, I can go in there for 1.5 minutes, but if I spend this much, I can go in there for 2 or 3 minutes, right? This Smash Run should have worked the same way. I feel 5 minutes is just way too long. The enemies, like some of them are cool, but then all of a sudden, like that car from Earthbound comes in, the purple one, and it just whoops your ass for 5 minutes, and you're in there for 5 minutes just getting beaten around. I feel like the objectives are very unclear. Like it shows you a bottom screen where other things are happening, but you can't find them or see them. So you go to the map where those events are happening and it points them out, but they're not there because they're happening in their own weird,
Their own dimensions.
dimensional portal version of So it's sort of there. I'd like to see it get maybe patched with some new options or given a streamlined version or something where I could go in there for 2 minutes and win trophies and prizes and stuff like that. But I'm not wild about it. I'm actually kind of disappointed with it.
Yeah, I think even it's a little telling how from from outside, it sort of looks like they weren't sure with Smash Run, sort of the implementation. Because if you look at like customizing characters, and Brendan brought this up to me specifically, where like you can run off to customize, and you can either customize Mii fighters or the characters themselves, but they don't let you add powers, and powers are an integral part of Smash Run. You can only do that in Smash Run, and the customization options there. There's weird things like that that even integration-wise say to me, like, I'm not sure if they were 100% sure this was going to work the way it was, but regardless of that, it is this close to being super interesting, right? Like, I agree with your point that if at the end it was, hey, you know, Mike got the most rewards, so he won for that reason. Like, it was no final battle, no final whatever. I'm okay with that. Because it is also fun to watch the character improvement. Like, you start out really slow, and then you're flying across the stage and
I
doing
would
all
even like
kinds
to
of
see
crazy
like a
stuff.
final thing, no final battle, just like how many people did you kill, how many stat boosts did you get, how much coins did you get, and that's it.
And being able to interact with the other players in Smash Run would have helped.
Sure, and even having like micro challenges based on that, like being like drop in a Smash Run, see how many enemies you can kill in 5 minutes. If you can kill 50, we'll give you this
Or
trophy.
find a portal, jump into Brian's world, slap him around a few times, then jump out, something like that.
You
know,
can
just a
try,
little
you can try,
more in
you can
between.
bring that.
I could.
Like, you could send bullet bills to other people's things, but it's kind of impersonal.
Yeah.
I'd rather just be there and actually fight them.
Yeah.
Although it is very personal when it explodes in your face and
Well,
you
yeah,
die.
and then you
Like,
yell at them.
Jose.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. That's our reviews discussion for Smash Brothers for Nintendo 3DS. What did you think of Smash 3DS? Let us know in the comments. And for more coverage on Smash Brothers and all things Nintendo, keep it right here at IGN.